Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for the Beaverton School District Budget Committee meeting here on May 18th, 2022. I'm Heidi Edwards, chairing our budget committee this year, and want to start with a couple of opening remarks and hand it over to Superintendent Don Grotting for a few words.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Welcome, Budget Committee, and all those folks that are out there watching. The first thing I'd like to say is just to thank all of you and the voters of Beaverton for the passage of our bond last night. It really emphasized how this community has prioritized education in the past and currently. So just it's going to make big differences for students, and want to thank you so much for prioritizing this bond. Also, I want to thank the school board for having the foresight to go out and place this capital construction bond on the ballot. And this is a budget committee, and please know, but by doing so and having it passed, it's going to have implications on future budgets in the future, knowing that now we have funds that are going to help ensure the safety and environments of our students to be in quality learning environments, to be safe. And so it's going to have implication for years to come. And I could go on and on about some of the people that are on this screen right now, the work, the sweat, the hard tears that they put into having this passed. And just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making a difference for all the children and staff in the Beaverton School District. And I just want to also thank especially our board and budget committee members who make up our budget committee for being here tonight, taking time away from your families to prioritize this. And especially a big shout out to our business department, Mike, Jessica, and all the folks that are supporting you. We've tried to answer all of your questions. We've had a lot of questions come in. We've tried to get those questions answered. So just look forward to engaging in the process. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Chair Edwards.
Thank you, Superintendent Grotting. And yes, thank you, voters in Beaverton. It's a wonderful opportunity to go into this meeting tonight, knowing that the bond passed. And we've got some work ahead of us this evening. But before we do that, we want to do roll call, and we'll do it in order of zone. So I'll just call you by name. And if you want to say you're here or present, that would be great. So zone 1, school board member Susan.
Here.
And budget committee person, Jason.
Here.
And zone 2, Karen. Okay, budget committee member Farah.
Here.
Thank you. Zone 3, Eric.
Here.
And budget committee member Diane.
Here.
Zone 4, school board member Sunita.
Here.
And budget committee member Alok.
Here.
Great. Zone 5, school board member Ugana.
I'm here.
Okay, great. And budget committee Krista.
Here.
And school board member Becky.
Here.
And budget committee member Heidi here. School board member for zone 7, Tom.
Here.
And budget committee member Lisa.
Here.
Thank you, team. All right. Moving on in our agenda item number 2, seeking approval of the minutes from our May 9th, 2022 budget committee meeting. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve those minutes?
I move that we approve the May 9th minutes from the budget committee.
Thank you, Susan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, and we will go through our committee members again, just a yay or a nay for the approval of those budget committee minutes from our last meeting. Zone 1, Susan, yay
Yay,
or nay?
yay,
Jason?
Yay.
Zone 2, Karen? And Zone 2, Farah?
Yay.
Zone 3, Eric?
Yay.
Diane?
Yay.
Zone 4, Sunita?
yay,
And Alok?
Yay.
Zone 5, Uana?
Yay.
And Krista?
Yay.
Zone 6, Becky?
aye,
And Zone 6, Heidi? Aye. Yay. Zone 7, Tom?
Yay.
And Lisa?
Yay.
Thank you. All right, moving forward. So we've approved the meeting minutes from our last meeting. We do want to review the public comment from that meeting. We had no additional comments received, but we want to go through and read the comments, the public comment we had that we took at the end of the meeting. And then we'll have somebody from the cabinet respond to each of those questions. I believe we have 8 total comments. So questions. The first question was with respect to investment in class size. And if a student's enrollment didn't drop this year, is it true that the student teacher ratio would increase?
So the answer here is not necessarily. When we built the 21-22 budget, we were in the middle of comprehensive distance learning and unsure of what the enrollment in the fall would look like. Because of this and the experiences that we had during the 2021 year, the budget was built with a teacher holdback of 1 to 3%. If the enrollment had come in as projected, we would have been able to allocate additional teachers from the holdback.
Thank you, Jessica. The second question, in the proposed budget document, it shows student teacher ratios compared to the state, and the data for the state has changed. Why did the data change, and what is the explanation for that?
So when we were looking at the state data, we're unable to match it to what we are experiencing here in Beaverton. So in the 22-23 proposed budget document, we've used a weighted average for the state data to more accurately represent the average class size throughout the state.
Thank you. Our third question from our public comments of the last meeting, there's 12 million in ESSER funds that are unspent. This seems like a good opportunity to use ESSER funds for technology, et cetera, to reduce the ask of the bond. And why wasn't that done?
Good evening, Kuromi, Deputy Superintendent. The district primarily at this point in time is reserving those $12 million to allocate for any ongoing needs that we may have caused by the pandemic. Regarding specifically technology, the district secured funding from the Emergency Connectivity Fund, which covered the last round of device purchases in the spring of 2021, as well as utilizing some of the summer learning grants to pay for devices. Technology included in the proposed bond or the bond that passed last evening are for future purchases. There are also dollars set aside for capital purchases in ESSER, and the district used a large portion of the funds to hire much needed staff to provide services to students in the district over the last 2 years.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Mead. And number 4, our fourth question from last time, have you notified positions funded by ESSER funds that their position is a potentially temporary, or are you planning to fund them in other ways?
So all the positions funded with the ESSER funds are temporary, and we do post those positions as temporary and offer them as temporary positions. So the staff in the position are notified that they are temporary. We also notify them mid-year that their job is temporary.
Thank you, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth question that we had was regarding House Bill 4030, the 78 million in grant funds available for attracting talent. And those funds are available to apply for now. What is the district's plans to file for a portion of that $78 million?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Edwards. David Williams, Administrator for Strategic Initiatives, helping to lead our team working on the House Bill 4030 grant program. We are in the process of preparing a grant application for these funds. Our estimated allocation from the state is $5.1 million from this grant program. Funds are one-time, non-recurring funds. The grant is for the purposes of recruitment and retention, particularly for positions affected by workforce shortages and for diversification of the workforce. The application is still in the formative stages and priorities are being developed. We implemented a survey district-wide of all employees to incorporate feedback into that application. And the application is required to be submitted to the state by May 31st. And we are on track to do that.
Great, thank you, David. An excellent question. Number 6, how has the budget evolved over the last 2 years to support stated diversity and equity goals?
Thank you, Committee Chair Edwards. My name is Pat McCreary, use he, him pronouns, identify as white, and I serve in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. Over the last 2 years, more dollars have been allocated to support our goals, which will be outlined on the next question. The increase of over $800,000 has funded an additional staff member, a co-administrator for equity and inclusion in the office, and the trainings and seminars listed in comment 8, as well as continued efforts to support the existing equity-focused work that we had been doing.
Great. And moving on, we'll move into question number 7. What are the measurable goals around equity that involve the budget?
Thank you. Happy to take this one as well. In addition to the goals that are stated within our policy JBB on educational equity about reducing the predictability of student success based on race, ethnicity, color, religion, national origin, immigration status, language, family economics, age, culture, geographic location, mobility, gender and sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, disability, or initial proficiencies, we also have goals that are most recently outlined in our 2021-2022 strategic plan report, with an emphasis on the following sections. Foundation of our work is growing our capacity in anti-bias and anti-racist leadership and changing biased and racist district and school practices. For example, selecting and consistently implementing high quality, culturally and linguistically responsive curriculum, identifying and implementing instructional best practices that require students to engage in deep thinking and connect students' cultures and languages and life experiences to what they're learning in school, and providing a safe and engaging environment for all students that integrates behavioral health and wellness and confronts and addresses bias and racism. Measurement of these goals will be visible in increased rates of academic engagement, advancement, and graduation, and decreased rates of discipline and identification in student groups who have been impacted by historic and current minoritization and marginalization.
Thank you, Pat. And last question, what required, not optional anti-bias staff trainings does the budget pay for? Thank
you. I'll take this one as well. In addition to a commitment on our superintendent's part to ensure that our district leadership participates in a coaching for educational equity seminar that allows them to come back and support our work in district, the proposed budget includes funding for groups of staff to participate in one of 3 two-day collaborative learning seminars focused on race equity. The intention of that training is to be required for and experienced by all staff over a period of time. In addition, there's funding for 3 equity summits held throughout the year for people, representatives from building and department equity teams to collaborate in alignment of their building and department-based equity and anti-bias, anti-racist focused professional learning and development. Very excited to say that right before this meeting, we had one of those such summits. As part of our annual required staff training, a module on cultural competence and racial bias provides staff members with an awareness and understanding of implicit racial bias and provides strategies for overcoming bias and developing cultural competencies so that educators can work effectively and collaboratively with all students.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you for your work and your team's work to address DIA and all the good things that come out of us recognizing the diverse population of our community and our students. So
Thank you, Chair Edwards.
moving on to that completes the questions or comments that we received from the last meeting, and want to move over to Jessica and have her talk a little bit about the adjustments to the proposed budget.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. There was a 2-page document that was included in the meeting materials. Usually this details any adjustments that we have from the proposed budget to the recommended approved budget by fund and appropriation level. The document in your packet has 0 adjustments to it, as we have made no changes to the appropriation levels from what was in the proposed document. So,
Okay.
no changes.
Thank you. That was simple.
Very simple.
Moving ahead then, want to open it up to the budget committee for final comments that you may have. And if you want to just chime in or raise a hand, don't need to raise a hand. Go ahead and chime in.
Well, I just want to start by thanking the voters for passing the bond last night. That's an incredible amount of trust in our education, or our educational facilities and staff. And that is going to do an amazing amount of good, not just for the future of our facilities, but also for this budget here and future budgets, because what it does, it allows us to prioritize dollars into the general fund and towards staff members. When we look at that pie chart where we can see, I think it's over 85% of our budget goes towards staff. That is allowed by the passage of this bond, which then can take those funds and focus on our facilities needs. So that's just huge. And I want a big thank you to all of the voters out there who helped approve that and make that a reality for us. I also appreciate this document in front of us. I just want to comment on how clear it is, how easy it is to understand. Some of the informational sections, some of the breakdowns do the work for you that in the past, sometimes you'd have to go through and collate and look back and forth. And a big thank you to Associate Superintendent Scofield for making that happen and for being there to answer all of our questions and patiently walk us through all the intricacies of this budget. I think this is my 5th budget year, and I'm still learning and understanding better how these budgets work. But I will say this is one of the clearest documents I've seen. I want to highlight just a couple of the investments. There's a lot of great investments in this budget, but the investment for class size of $7 million with an additional amount targeted for our middle schools, I think is excellent, and I really appreciate that support. We know that our students need that extra support. We're coming in a really difficult time with a lot of trauma from the pandemic, and those funds will go straight into the classroom and help support our students. So that's great. I also want to comment, this is an increase of 105.2 positions from the previous budget year, which is quite a thing to do in a year with declining enrollment. But I think that is the right investment to make. That's an incredibly important investment to make. And one that's going to help support our students. And I would additionally add that because of the hiring difficulties we had last year, that will actually take us even further next year. So if you look at that's 147 additional positions if we were able to hire in what we have in this budget. So it's not just additional positions, but the ability to hire folks, which was quite difficult last year due to the pandemic. If we're able to do that next year, that will have a measurable impact on the district. We have been, I want to say creeping along, but I don't know if it's quite creeping, a little faster than that. Every year we're able to add 2 early childhood education preschool schools to the list of schools that do preschool in our district. And I'm so excited to see another 2 schools here. If we keep this up pretty soon, we'll have a district where there will be a lot of preschool opportunity for our students. And that's such a key investment that really allows us to support our students throughout their whole educational experience if they're able to start with preschool. So I just want to call that out because I think it continues to happen in our budgets and it almost becomes routine at a certain point, but it's so special and important. So those are some of the things that I'm excited about. What I'm not excited about is, I think we have some pretty tough years coming ahead as our enrollment declines. And as we look at the amount of funding that we're receiving from the state, we have some federal funds right now, which are helping us, and I appreciate that, but those are all one-time monies. And in a couple of years here, when we see those funds go away, we are going to be left with a very difficult situation unless the state legislature steps in and provides us with more funding. Looking at the biennium that we're currently in, we saw a 3% increase, and that's over 2 years. And if you look at where inflation is at, even a single year outpaces that by almost double. So I think one thing when I'm looking ahead and I'm looking at this budget document and thinking about future years, there's a lot of advocacy we're going to have to do around educational funding to help folks understand in the legislature what we're going to need to be able to support our students. And I would double down on that, looking at the amount of trauma and need that is in our district right now and what our students really need. So those are my comments. I'm happy to support this budget, and I appreciate all of the work that went into it.
Thank you, Chair Collette. Others?
Chair Edwards.
Yes.
I too will be supporting this budget tonight, and I do believe this will be my 7th budget. A budget should be a reflection of our values, and I see this reflecting my values as a board member. A lot of the things that I was going to point out, my fellow budget committee member Colette already pointed out, but I appreciate that we are investing in our students by giving them the supports that we need at this time. This has been a difficult transition year for our staff. It has been difficult on our staff. It has been difficult on our students. It's been difficult on our families, and we are finding out every month what kind of supports, whether it be social or emotional or mental health, and the kind of things that we need to do to help our students feel confident and moving forward in their education after this couple of years of being different ways that we have had to approach their learning. And I do believe this budget reflects, and I will also reflect that it is with great confidence when you are able to not have to cut anything from a budget and instead are able to add, because I've been on both ends of that, and it is much better when we can keep investing wisely in our students and in our staff. And I too want to thank our community for supporting our bond, so we're able to focus the general funds money that we have and the places where it needs to be with our students and our staff, and have that bond to focus on building and maintaining safe and healthy schools. So thank you so much to the Beaverton community for entrusting that into us, but I will be supporting this budget tonight.
Thank you, Becky. Other committee members? I know in past years when we've been in person, and maybe even when we weren't, that we each had an opportunity to say something simple or not say anything at all, but just sort of that approval or opposition to the budget. So I just want to make sure that I'm making time and space for anybody who wants to respond to what their thoughts are about this budget and approval or non-approval of it.
I'll chime in real quick. I echo the board member time check and Colette said, but I just want to thank the budget team, the budget office, and for the document. I thought it was awesome, wonderful last year, and it just keeps getting better, and I appreciate that. And I also want to thank Superintendent Grotting for his service to the district.
Thank you, Jason. Others? Sunita, I see your hand up.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone who voted yes for the bond. Thank you, Becky, for helping us too, for the board. And so for the budget, I'm really, really thankful to the budget committee. This is not my 5th or 6th or 7th year. This is my 1st year, and it made sense. It made a lot of sense in how money was being appropriated. I was happy to see that things like for drug abuse, there's going to be an addition in staff for substance use, for homelessness. There are money being appropriated for that. And I echo Tom's comment about advocacy. I think we will need to do a lot of advocacy in coming years because our ESSERS funds is going to finish. It's a one-time fund, but the need will still be there. So I think that's coming down the road. We will have to all work together and try to get more money for our district so that we can keep the quality of education to the best and look for ways how we can fund for new grants and stuff that our budget cannot fund, for talented and gifted students. I thought that there should be more money. Maybe we can look for grants for those students and all work together and make sure that we can give a high quality of education for each and every student in our district. Thank you, the budget committee and everybody. Thanks, Mike, for answering all my questions.
Thank you, Sunita. Others?
I'm not going to be repetitive except to say thank you. Well, I will be repetitive. I take that back. Thank you to the business administrative staff for putting together yet another amazing, straightforward, transparent budget. Very much appreciated. Appreciate the entire staff in the Beaver School District, including our leader, Don Grotting. Want to thank him for his great leadership in our district, and also look forward to voting yes on this.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. Yeah, the budget document is always really amazing. It just gets better every year, and I love it. It's so walk through, you can see exactly where the funds are. So I think it's incredibly transparent. So I feel really proud to be part of a team with everyone here to be able to share that with the community, to know exactly where we're putting our funds and our focus. And I was like, I know a couple of years ago when we first started early education, I think it's really amazing, kind of reiterating what Tom said, but 2 more schools added to early childhood development. I think it's really amazing. And strategically, I think it's a very intelligent move because we're trying to eliminate the equity gap and give wraparound services for those who can't afford it and have access to it. So I think this, will pay huge dividends in the future. And I'm really proud to be part of the district that's charging ahead of that, adding, 2 schools every year. And someday all the schools might have that. So I'm really proud that you can balance the budget of all the different demands and needs, add those 2 schools, as well as adding more services for the social emotional needs from people coming back from COVID. So job well done. And I definitely strongly support this budget.
Thank you, Eric. Any others?
Yes, I just have to say something.
You don't have to say anything, Ogana, but you are welcome to say whatever.
Everybody has said such amazing things about the budget. And the only thing I'm going to add is that this budget, just like the passage of the bond, reflects our commitment to ensuring a good quality education for our students and a good quality environment for our students to get their education as well. So I am happy to vote yes. So thank you to everyone who put this together. I appreciate all the work and your service. I will be voting yes tonight.
Thank you, Igona. And I'll go ahead and jump in and just mention how I'm so impressed how over the years this budget process has evolved in this multi-year process, the participation of the public, because it's not just those of us on this committee and those who work for the school district who fed into this budget. Was the input, whether it was survey input or community feedback, that really, was the foundation for a lot of this and has been for years. I'm just reflecting on where we were 7-8 years ago, and year to year to year, that social and emotional component of our educational system has become more and more important in how we're serving students and our families and community. So I'm grateful that the school district is investing in the social emotional staffing, as well as class size, our teachers and our staff, what they are doing to support the kids in our community. But I'd also just encourage folks, aside from, making sure that we are vocal with our local and state legislators, to continue to know that this is a participatory opportunity for folks to be involved in, just as we had a couple of folks who submitted questions and comments in our last meeting. Just really encourage that kind of activity so that we can make this the budget that reflects our values in the community and what we want for students in the community. So with that said, I will be supporting this budget as well, and very grateful for the work of the staff and our volunteers as well. And Lisa, I did see your hand up, but maybe not anymore. So I want to.
I was just going to put an aside. I mean, I would echo everything everyone has said tonight. It's absolutely thrilling that the bond passed, and the leadership in the district. I am very grateful to all of you for all that you've done to put this budget together and everything. I just wanted to call out one thing. When we talk about schools, we've talked a lot about class size, which is so wonderful to see that as an emphasis for the district. But I noticed a small part in the budget document that looked at energy and resource conservation, and looks like the district is doing an amazing job, and anything that we can save in that area, not only is it good for our planet, but it's good for the overall budget and allows us to put those dollars toward student learning. So anyway, I just wanted to notice that that's a great part in the budget document to read over, and thanks to all of that goes into making sure that we're paying attention to resource conservation. Okay, so thank you.
Great point. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so as not to put everybody on the spot, unless you are really eager to say something, I want to go ahead and move into our next agenda item, which is the approval of the budget and tax levies. And so looking for a motion for approval of those. I think Jason, maybe?
Yeah, I move that the Beaverton School District budget in the amount of $1,523,218,029 for all funds for 2022-23 be approved. The permanent tax rate of $4.693 per 1,000 of assessed value be assessed in support of the general fund. A local option tax rate of $1.25 per 1,000 of assessed value be assessed in support of the general fund, and a tax of $80,880,053 be approved for the service of bonded debt obligations of the school district.
I second.
Thank you, Susan. I sort of want to joke with you, Jason, and say, can you repeat that again? But I won't. We have it in writing. Thank you. So Jason for the motion, Susan for the second. We're going to do a vote by zone and committee members. So zone one, a yay or nay. Susan?
Yay.
Jason?
Yay.
Zone 2, Karen, she's unable to join us this evening, but Farah?
Yay.
And zone 3, Eric?
Yay.
Diane?
Yay.
Zone 4, Sunita?
Yay.
Alok?
Yay.
Zone 5, Ulona?
Yay.
And Krista?
Yay.
Zone 6, Becky?
Aye.
And Heidi? Yay. Zone 7, Tom?
Yay.
And Lisa?
Yay.
And with that, we have the approval of the budget and tax levies for this fiscal year's budget, this upcoming fiscal year. So thank you, committee members. With that said, we want to hand it over to Dawn or Superintendent Grotting for a few closing remarks. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of your last budget. This is your last budget meeting, Superintendent, right?
Can you say that one more time?
This is your last budget meeting.
Yeah. First of all, Chair Edwards, I want to thank you for your leadership in chairing this committee. And then just to everybody on this screen, the children of Beaverton are in good hands with folks like you all. So you're doing great things for kids. When I look back at maybe 5 or 6 of the significant decisions I made while being here in the district, one of them is going to be going out and hiring Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mike Scofield. When we hired him, I think the district was in a situation where we were not being trusted by our community, and he's come in and empowered his staff, and he has provided financial stability to the district. He has instilled trust, continues to instill trust. And I don't know if you noticed today, Mike has not talked very much. And that is because he empowers his staff to be leaders. And Jessica has done a phenomenal job. He empowers his staff to do phenomenal jobs. And that's what you want to do is, as a leader, is making sure that hopefully you're leaving the place in a better place. So the other thing I want to say, I was on with 7 large school district superintendents, and they were all talking about what a show, and you can imagine the word that goes in front of show, their budget committee meetings have been. They've been controversial. They've been just a lot of strife in them. And just for this budget committee to hold us accountable, ask the difficult questions, but being able to converse, and then for our folks to be able to answer you in a transparent ways. And we do not do everything right at the district office. We make mistakes. We'll continue to make mistakes. But I think as long as we try to be honest and, you know that we're really trying to do the best we can for the kids. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for making a difference for the kids in the Beaverton School District. Back to you, Heidi.
Thank you, Superintendent. You will be missed. We still have you for a little bit, but you will be missed. So with no further ado, I'd like to move forward and call for a motion. Well, do I need to call for a motion to adjourn the meeting, or I can just adjourn the meeting? So I'll move forward 7:09, adjourning tonight's budget committee meeting. Thank you everyone who participated, and have a wonderful sunny rest of the week.